Thank you, Tom. First of all, I'd like to thank the Economist for inviting me in this prestigious conference. A festive content, but also a content that takes place at a crucial time when heightened uncertainty and strong downside risks, you mentioned some of them, to the world economic outlook. According to some of your reports, as well as from the World Bank, the IMF, 1/3 of the countries globally are estimated to present at least 2 consecutive quarters of contraction. Thus, in this turbulent period, reinforcing the resilience and competitiveness of our economies is a major challenge. In this field, I think we have delivered, and the Economist has confirmed it. I think Greece has succeeded. We have collectively succeeded. First of all, we continue outperforming growth expectations. We expect a growth rate of 5.6% for 2022. Indeed, according to the forecast not of the Ministry of Finance, but from the European Commission, Greece is projected to grow twice the European average in 2022 and 3 times higher in 2023. The second issue has to do not with the size of growth, but with the composition of growth, the quality of growth. GDP quality improves by strengthening the components of investments and exports. Last year, it was estimated that foreign direct investments will record for the second consecutive year a new historical record. According, once again, to the European Commission, not to the Greek Ministry of Finance, Greece is ranked first in terms of expected investments increase for the period 2022-2024. At the same time, Greek exports as a percentage of GDP are now higher than those of Italy, Spain, and France. In addition, the export base is significantly diversified, registering an impressive increase in the exports of high-tech goods, which are now approaching the percentages of highly industrialized countries, such as Germany. It is noted that according to the World Bank, Greece had 6 categories of goods whose exports exceeded 1% of GDP back in 2021, while before the outset of the previous crisis, it had just 1, petroleum products. The third success has to do with unemployment or with employment. Labour market developments have been positive. Unemployment continues its decline, being at its lowest level since 2010. Employment increases by double the size of inactivity reduction, and the reduction in the unemployment rate among women and youth is more pronounced than the reduction in the headline unemployment rate. The fourth issue has to do with the banking sector. The banking sector has made marked progress, both on the asset, but also on the liability side. On the asset side, the NPL ratio has been reduced from 44% of total loans back in July 2019 to single digit in the third quarter of 2022. And on the liability side, over the same period, deposits have increased. Today we had some good news, by 38% in the last 3 years. The fifth issue has to do with public finances. Public finances have resumed their improved trajectory. We expected in the budget that primary deficit will shrink to 1.6% of GDP in 2022, down from 5% in 2021. We expect a much better result for 2022. Thus, according to the European Commission, this is the most pronounced fiscal consolidation among all EU member states back in 2022. Moreover, we project primary surpluses for 2023 onwards. 6, public debt. Public debt is on a record level reduction path. Indeed, public debt, as a proportion of GDP, is projected to fall by 50 percentage points within a 3-year period, the largest among all EU member states since 2019, falling to 160% of GDP in 2023. Last 7 points, we have completed a number of important reforms to digitalize public administration, to reorganize the pension system, to simplify the framework for investment licensing, to provide a modern corporate governance regime, to establish tax incentives in order to attract investors, pensioners, family offices, to invest the brain, to boost research and innovation, to increase the size of firms. Moreover, over the last 3 years, Greece has recorded a notable increase in institutional performance, including governance efficiency and perceived corruption, as measured by established international metrics. All stakeholders of the Greek economy are confirming this progress. Among others, The Economist. I think I have 2 reports in front of me, one confirming that business environment has been increased significantly and improved significantly. The changes rank is 16, the largest among all EU member states. And the second table here, presented recently, through a number of different indices, like GDP, consumer prices, inflation, share price, and public debt to GDP, which also confirms that Greece is ranked first. So thanks a lot for confirming what we have done collectively. However, as you mentioned, Tom, we have ups and downs. At the European level, high energy prices, the erosion of households' purchasing power, a weaker external environment, and tighter financial conditions are taking center stage heading into 2023. Moreover, internally in Greece, public debt is sustainable and in a declining trajectory, but it remains high. The country has exited the enhanced surveillance mechanism, but we do not have yet the investment grade. Non-performing loans on banks' balance sheets fell significantly, but private debt is a major problem for households and enterprises. And we continue, as you mentioned before, to navigate through turbulent international geopolitical waters. Thus, it is of utmost importance to continue for the next 4 years to implement a growth-friendly, fiscally prudent, and reform-oriented economic strategy based on titles on 7 pillars. First of all, implementing targeted, temporary, tailored fiscal measures to tackle the economic effects of multi-level crisis, especially for the most vulnerable part of the society. The second priority is to implement a prudent and credible fiscal policy. This, along with optimal utilization of available resources, is the main weapon against uncertainty and volatility, as well as a roadmap to achieve investment-grade status. The third priority has to do with liquidity. We have to enhance liquidity in the real economy through the deployment of the public investment budget and the full and timely implementation of the Recovery and Resilience Plan. Indeed, PIB spending will rise to record levels in 2023. The fourth priority has to do with structural reforms. We should continue implementing ambitious structural reforms, including the primary health care reform, the codification of the labour legislation, the completion of the asset development plan. The fifth one has to do with the banking sector. We have to make a stronger and more resilient financial system through, among others, the de-investment of the state from the banking sector. This is extremely important in bank-based countries like Greece, as it is a basic condition, precondition, for sustainable development, for businesses and households to have access to finance, and for the efficient distribution of financial resources. Sixth priority, to preserve the price signal in order to reduce energy consumption and incentivizing investments in energy efficiency, future-proof energy infrastructure, including interconnections, storage, and innovative renewable technologies. And finally, actively participating in the incentives for the new economic architecture. We support the completion of the banking union, the deepening of the capital markets union, and the review of the economic governance framework. As far as the latter is concerned, given the increase in public debt ratios over the last couple of years, a reinstatement of the present fiscal rules makes little economic sense and would not be credible for markets. The revised fiscal framework should ensure, among others, that debt reduction paths are not front-loaded in the aftermath of the pandemic crisis, fiscal policy is counter-cyclical, and productive investments, among other defense expenditure, are protected. Ladies and gentlemen, it is evident that despite difficulties and international volatility, Greece has turned the page. The country is efficiently implementing structural reforms and coherent economic and fiscal policies which provide the impetus to form a more resilient and inclusive economic landscape, achieving high and sustainable growth, creating many jobs, and enhancing social cohesion. We are determined to continue along the same path in the second four-year period as a government. Thank you very much.